up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Melbourne 245 series. So this episode is another episode of the Training Diaries, where I deep dive into my previous week of training, a conversation regarding all things training, nutrition, workouts, shoes, you name it, anything that goes into running a sub 245 marathon. A podcast style piece of content that you can consume while reminiscing about the good old days when a Powerade didn't cost you $6.80 at the local cafe after a Sunday long run. True story about me last weekend, bloody stitch up. So last week was both nice and not nice, and I'll explain why. It was nice because I ran my third fastest 10K ever in training at my session. And it was not nice because I was carrying probably the worst DOMs, or some of the worst DOMs that I've ever had. And it wasn't from that session. Well, not only from that session, but I'll explain the rest a little bit later in the video. So I treated this week as a deload week before I deload the mileage. And what I mean by that is I was deloading on intensity, but still keeping the mileage high before I then go into my 2-week taper where I plan to deload both intensity and deload mileage. So with yet another week clocking 113.5 kilometers total mileage, it was another brick laid and probably the final big brick laid for the block. Jeez, that was a tongue twister. You guys get what I mean. So let's get into the training deep dive for the week that was the 23rd to the 29th of September. This video series is once again proudly sponsored by Aid Station. They're keeping me fueled and hydrated for my preparations to run 245 at the Melbourne Marathon, and have done so for the past 2 years. I can always count on Aid Station to have the best products and super fast shipping. So check them out if you want to support me by supporting them. Now, back to you, Dave. Okay, so we kick it off with Monday. So this is off the back of a pretty decent Sunday long run. If you didn't watch last week's episode, watch that where I break it down. But essentially it was a 36.5K longy with 40 minutes at marathon pace and 2x5 minutes at half marathon pace thrown in the mix. So yeah, you could say it was a pretty decent longy. So the Monday following, I was feeling a little bit sore, as you would after running the big Ks. So I had a recovery treadmill. This one, just 50 minutes in the mag max from Puma. And I ran 9.59 Ks, it reckons. So yeah, on the treadmill, a little bit less damage on the legs, a little bit softer on the body. And I can watch some anime while I'm at it. Not complaining. So then we come to Tuesday. So Tuesday, I'm gonna say I was actually feeling really good. I think I soaked in all of that stimulus on the Sunday. That recovery run on Monday just really helped soak it in, and my legs, they just were brought back to life, and I felt so good. So Tuesday is my session day down with the group at Main Beach. We did a 5K warm-up. This one was done at 446s, and I did this one in the... Oh, that's all right. I did these in the unbranded zebras I've written here. Zebras. In Australia, we say zebra. But yeah, I did the warm-up and the session in the same pair of shoes because it was a new pair of shoes that I haven't worn before, and I kind of just wanted to test them out in the warm-up to see if they would work well for me and my foot, and I wasn't going to get blisters and get horribly injured from wearing these, just jumping straight into a session. So I decided to wear them for the warm-up as well. They felt really good. Shock. They felt really good. And I knew I was ready to absolutely smash this session. So then we come to the session part. So the session was 6x5 minutes off a 90-second jog. All right, we went into this session, ran this with Marty. The goal was we were going to start off at about 340 and see how we feel. I will say that it didn't go as planned. We ran obviously a lot faster, and it's just the beauty of feeling really good and just wearing a new shoe that, by the way, felt incredible. I can't really talk too much about this shoe, but I will say that it is really soft, really responsive, really, I guess, unstable for me, really unstable. But running at those faster paces, like running closer to that 330, 340 pace, they just felt unreal. But that's all I'm going to say about the shoes for now. I will say that because they are a little bit unstable, my heel already tends to roll in with shoes, and I struggle with shoes like the Adios Pro 3. My foot would roll in a fair bit and I'd get sore. I had the same thing with these. These are quite high stacked, especially in the middle. You might know what I'm talking about. But my foot did tend to roll in, my ankle was rolling in, and I felt it happening, and a few of the boys commented saying, damn, your ankle is rolling in. And they weren't wrong. But that's all I'm gonna say about this shoe. But we got into the first rep. This one was at 3:35 for the first 5 minutes. So already a little bit hotter, but feeling really good. New shoe goofing, you could say. And then for the 90 seconds recovery, we ran these probably, we averaged all of them at about 4:20 to 4:30, depending on how wrecked we were. The way the recoveries always work is you start a lot slower. So probably you start the recovery run at like 4:45s, and then it always like picks up when it comes closer to the rep. So it's never like a stock standard pace for the entire 90 seconds, but the average always ends up to being about 4:25, we could probably say here. Then we come to the second splits. So this was the same, 3:35. The third one was a little bit slower, but I will say the way we do the sessions is we do a big out and back. And when we turned around in the middle of the third rep, so that we would make it back where we started. So there was a bit of a straight U-turn that we did, where we kind of like stopped completely and then turned around and went for it again. So we lost a bit of time there, but that one was around the same. So it was around that 3:35 to 3:40, so a little bit slower. Then the next one, we picked it up. At this stage, the fourth one, this is where I really started to feel great. I was leading the group. I felt a little bit like I was dragging the group along with this one. That's the great thing about running in a group, is like some days you'll be feeling amazing and you kind of bring everybody up and you bring the best out of everybody else. And sometimes you're not feeling the best and then somebody else brings it out of you. So everybody in the group just kind of has turns at feeling really good or feeling not so good. And today, or that day, I was feeling really good. So then we just, I picked it up. It was unspoken, but I picked it up to 3:30s. Held 3:30s for that fourth rep. Held 3:30s again for that fifth rep. And then we got to the last rep, where the average was 4:26. So definitely picked it up on that last rep. I spoke about this last time. And by the way, when I was editing the video and I was talking about that the guys were running up the back of me, except I quoted it a different way, which I realized was so sus. But I can't believe I said that. But what was really great about this session again is the guys were racing up from behind me again. And then they were probably maybe the last 2 minutes of the 5-minute rep. So when they came past me, I tried to jump on the back with them and ran a little bit faster. I was holding around that 3:30, and then I picked it up to probably about 3:18s they said they were holding, and I jumped off on the back with them and then held on for the rest of the 5 minutes. But this time, holding on to the back of them was a completely different story to the last time. I wasn't completely ruining myself. I felt in control. My stride felt smooth, and it was just one of those sessions where you're like, you just want to fist pump. You're just like, I nailed that session. I feel good. I feel fit, and I felt like I could really just take anything on at that stage. But made my way down to that 3:25 average for the last rep. So not bad. We ended up doing 11 Ks for that session, and then it was 3:46 average, and that's with the recoveries in as well. So yeah, I think we got here as 36:51, 10K. I remember doing that at Bridge to Brisbane 2 years ago, and that was an absolute 10 out of 10 all out effort. And then now I just did that in training with 90-second jogging recoveries in between. It's just a nice feeling, and it's just a reminder that you're doing the right thing, and it's just a really good indication that you're in fitness. If you're hitting any kind of, I guess, top 3 runs ever in training, I think you're doing well. Marty, who I run with, actually ran a 10K PB, which I think he really has more in him, but he ran a 10K PB in that session running with us. So yeah, it was just one of those sessions where everything was just clicking, felt really good, and we did a total of 16K for the day. Then we move on to Wednesday. So Wednesday, I've been doing a midweek longy with the group where we go out into the hills of Ashmore and make our way back to Main Beach. This one, I will note that my legs were absolutely flogged. So off the back of that Tuesday session the day before, Tuesdays I usually do my lower body strength in the gym. I like to just double it up because I know that Wednesday and Thursday before my Friday session, I can just deal with sore legs and just run easy, essentially. But I think adding together the Tuesday morning session, the Tuesday afternoon leg day, and then Wednesday morning Hilly long run, those three compounded together just absolutely wrote off my legs. They were just so sore, especially my adductors, which I've mentioned a week, and I could feel it. But anyway, talking about this midweek longy, we got Wednesday, we had 20K at 4:31 pace and we ran for 90 minutes. So the elevation on this one, I mean, some of you guys are mountain goats, I'm sure, so this will be some pussy elevation, but it's decent for me, considering a lot of the run is flat, but there is just probably like 5 or 6, 7 hills that are pretty decent in elevation, but it was 215 meter gain, over 20K. I don't know if that's good, I don't know if that's bad, but it was, yeah, it's definitely a lot hillier than I'm used to, and yeah, we've got some, minus 27s. I know minus is down, but you've got to go up it to go back down it. So it evens out. Some plus 21s, yeah, it was pretty good. Heart rate managed to stay in control. They decided for some reason after 17K to pick it up to like 418, 415, and then 414 pace. And I remember I was just running and I was at the back of the group. I'm like, looking around. I'm looking at my watch like, what are they doing? Why are they running this fast? They have no business running this fast right now. My legs are sore. I'm holding on. I don't like this at all. And I looked at Kyle and I said, why are we doing 415s? And he goes, look, I don't know, mate. And then we kind of just held on. They dropped me for like the last 2K, the rest of the group. They must have like worked it down to 4-minute Ks. I just didn't see the merit in that. Considering I was so sore, I was like, man, whatever. I'm happy with what I did. So yeah, 20K in total. I did wear the Super Blast for this one. Which I think is a great shoe for these midweek long runs, especially the Hilly. I guess it's not that great to wear carbon plates for those kind of runs, so Super Blast 2 are a great option. So then we come to Thursday. So Thursday I actually ran with a friend from the running group. His name's Josh Manning. So he actually has a YouTube channel if you want to check him out. He's just starting. He wanted to get some pointers on how to start a YouTube. I said, just get a camera out and chat shit. That's what I do. But yeah, no, good bloke, and we ended up just doing a nice 60 minutes run, and we got 12.4K, so 450s an average. I was incredibly sore. I've written here on Strava, unbelievably sore today, and then I basically just said what I told you guys about compounding those sessions and the leg day. Bloody sore. But yeah, it was a good run. I also, while I was on that run, I also ran into a subscriber or a follower of the YouTube channel, and was chatting to him for a little while. So his name's Anthony Barker. Shout out to you, mate, and good luck for your race coming up next. But yeah, just ticking that one over. Legs are sore. Glad to have it done. So then we come to Friday. So Friday is usually my second session for the week. But I did have plans for the Saturday to do a session with Tommy Newell, and we were going to get it filmed by Document Media, and I was going to make a video for YouTube with it. But ultimately, the weather for the weekend was just absolute crap, and I had to cancel the shoot. So I ran 60 minutes easy on the Friday with my intention of running the session on the Saturday instead, which didn't end up happening. So yeah, just ran 60 minutes easy on the Friday, and that was done at just over 5-minute pace. I actually did this one with Tommy and my friend Jordan, who stayed the night before. He's visiting from Harvey Bay. Good bloke. I wore the Mizuno Neo Vistas for this one, and yeah, it was just a pretty chill hour run for the Friday. Honestly, it was nice, and my legs were still at this stage really, really sore. So I wasn't really upset that I missed the session because it was probably going to benefit me anyways, just having another day easy before we get into it again. But then we move on to this Saturday. Saturday, I did another 60 minutes, just an absolute 60-minute demon this week. This time I ran the first 6K by myself at around 4:45s, and then as I was running back from the spit, I ran into a running group where I knew two of the guys. I knew Chris and Rob from the run group, and I just jumped on the back of them. They were doing a Saturday longy before the AFL Grand Final, so they were just getting it out early. They were doing like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And they literally like ran right past my house. So I just ran with them all the way back home. And I wrote here, it's just so funny that I went from running 4:45s to running 4:20s, 4:15s even for some of it. And the effort felt easier running with the group, running 25 seconds faster than it did running 4:45s on my own. So that's just a testament to find a group, find people and run with them, because it's going to make life a whole lot easier. And it even literally physically makes the running easier too. Ran 60 minutes, did that one in also the Neo Vista, got to chat shoes, got to chat shit, and yeah, I absolutely enjoyed that. And then we come to the Sunday long run, the moment everybody's been waiting for. So I mentioned earlier that I was keeping the mileage but reducing the intensity. So for that day's Sunday long run, we just had 2 hours and 15 minutes programmed in, and there was no marathon pace, no efforts thrown in at all. We were just going to do it as a progression like we usually do. So that's exactly what we did. We ran 2 hours and 15 minutes. We ran 30.3K. So 30K was basically what we wanted to be hitting for the day or for the morning. And we ran at 4:27 pace. You can see here from the splits, we ran a pretty good progression. We started off a little bit hot. We usually start around 4:45s. But this one we were in the 4:30s fairly early on. I thought, I'm not mad about this because I've got no efforts later on. So I can just enjoy this and not have to be worried about overcooking myself before having to work hard later on in the session. That was really nice. Heart rate stayed mid 150s to high 150s. Really, really good. We're running with the group again. Rinny from the run group, she actually had a workout she was doing. She was doing 3 by 10 minutes, and she was doing that an hour and 40 minutes in. So she was just dialed in, and she was just naturally picking up the pace a little bit. So that's why we were going a little bit faster. We worked our way up to the 13th K. We were definitely in the 4:30s then. We had a couple of slower Ks, a couple of faster Ks, until basically she left us, and then we were left to just jog in ourselves. And that's where we kind of steadied out the pace a fair bit more, where we were running around 4:30, 4:25, 4:22, 4:15s. And then when we got to the 25th K, we had 5 Ks to go, and we pretty much just sat around that 4:10 to 4:15 pace all the way up to 30K. I will say I was feeling in control. I was feeling really good. I fueled a little bit less than I would for a race. I noticed the difference, but just knowing I didn't have any efforts was just a breath of fresh air, and I actually got to just enjoy the long run. And there was a lot of shit chat and just a lot of smiles and enjoying the scenery for what was not really the best day. I had a subscriber, Armin, who reached out to me on Instagram and said, asked if I could run with him on the weekend. He was staying in Broadbeach, so just up the road from me. So I said, yeah, mate, just come along to the long run, expecting him to say no. And then he was like, yeah, sweet as. Like, what are you doing? Oh, yep, 2 hours 15. Yep, 4:45 to 4:20 pace. Yep, okay, sweet. He just joined in. He was laughing. He did so well. Like, it was just like nothing to him. I was thinking, oh shit, must be nice to just rock up and do 30K. That's pretty awesome. And yeah, shout out to you, mate, for rocking up. He's a great bloke, and it was really good running with you, man. Really good. The shoes I wore the New Balance SC Elite V4s, the Mac Daddies. The reason I wore these is because I knew I was in for a little bit of an easier effort. And I don't know, I just kind of wanted it to be that little bit easier. Can you blame me? When I posted on Strava, someone commented, what happened to the Sunday Blast 2s, mate? And I was like, give me a break. Give me a break. I wear them every other Sunday. I didn't wear them last Sunday because I had efforts, and I didn't wear them this Sunday because, I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to enjoy it and just that little bit more, you know? And I did. So what do I say to you? Get off it, mate. Get off it. But yeah, ultimately 30K in the bank, 2 hours 15, and that finished off 113.5 kilometer week with one less session, but very, very similar mileage to what I've been banking up every week on week leading up to the Melbourne Marathon. So I would say that today I'm definitely a hell of a lot less sore than I have been after Sunday long runs. And with 2 weeks to go until Melbourne Marathon, I do have some intensity to drop. I'm still going to keep decent mileage this week, and then I'm going to drop it again next week, but I'm sure I'll talk all about that when we get into the training breakdown next week. But yeah, that's going to conclude the Strava training week breakdown of last week. What we're going to get into now, we're going to get into the viewer Q&As. This is where you guys have asked me questions on my Instagram story. I chuck the question box up. Anything you guys ask, I hand select what I think you guys would be interested in most, and I answer them off the cuff as honestly as I can here on YouTube for you guys. So if you want to answer or you want to, ask any questions in the future, look out on Sunday for my question box on Instagram, or you can just comment on this video down below and I'll get into them next week. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the first question. Okay, so the first question is from Longy. So he says, how has your training changed since you received your LT1 and LT2 results? So my actual training itself hasn't really changed all that much. What I've really used the data for is just confirmation that I am doing the right thing. So my LT1 was 160 beats, and it reckons it was around 3:53 pace. So that's like marathon pace for me, which was a really good indicator for what I want to do in Melbourne, which is a sub 2:45, which is a 3:54 per K average to slip underneath that. So it just was a really good confidence booster going into that, knowing that like physiologically I am capable of doing it. I just have to turn up on the day and do it. But regards to training, I know that 160 beats roughly is where I like dip over that LT1 threshold. So if I make sure that I keep all of my easy running below that, then I know that I'm in the right zones. And if I can get even lower than that, like a fair bit lower than that, then I know I'm doing a good job. So that just reconfirms that doing the 4:45 pace is my easy pace, where I'm staying at like 150, sometimes even lower for heart rate, that is, that I know that I'm like not dipping past that LT1 for any of the easy stuff. So that confirms that. Regarding LT2, that was just kind of nice to know what I am roughly capable of at like around that 3:18 pace. It kind of worked out perfectly that it was my 5K pace, which makes sense because yeah, that I could definitely feel the lactic starting to build up in that race. But basically I just kind of I just have those zones. I have the idea of where I know I'm at, and as long as I'm not tipping over that LT2 too often in training, I'm kind of sitting underneath it so I can raise it, then I know I'm in a good spot there. So training hasn't really changed too much, but it was more just a confidence booster, I guess, to round out that question. Next one from Luke Cook. How would you structure a training week for a half marathon with only 4 runs? Okay, so firstly, would say long run as 1. I would say 2 easy runs and then 1 session. I would say, yeah, definitely do that to start off. Even though your race is only 21.1 Ks, being the half marathon, I still think it is 100% crucial that you are doing runs longer than this. Okay, that doesn't mean going out and doing them at race pace or anything like that. Make sure that they are definitely slow. I feel like just time on feet is going to benefit you. Making sure that you in your 2 easy days. So let's just talk about a week. So it'll be, I would say, Monday you can rest after your long run. Tuesday I would be doing an easy run. I'm not going to say times or paces for this because who knows, like everybody's different, but maybe like a 45 to an hour easy run on that one. And then I would say either Wednesday or Thursday you would do as your session. Okay, a great session for the half marathon is 3 by 10 minutes with 90 seconds recovery. That 90 seconds recovery can be a jog. That's obviously going to be a bit harder, or you can do just a standing recovery, depending on your capability, your fitness level, yada, yada, yada. And with those 10-minute intervals, I would be aiming at doing those around half marathon efforts. They don't have to be half marathon goal race pace. Maybe just dial it back to effort so you're not overcooking yourself in those sessions. Then I would rest on Thursday. I would do another easy run on Friday. This one, similar thing, 45 to an hour, just trying to stick in that, 140 to 155 beats per minute range for heart rate. Just making sure that you're running easy for those ones. You don't want to be adding fatigue. You want to be making sure that you're still recovering from that session 2 days before. Then we get to Sunday. Sunday, 90 minutes is going to be your standard long run. Absolutely. And then I would try to build that up as you go, maybe even build it up to in the ballpark of 2 hours. It really just depends how fast you're running your half marathon for your race. And it really just depends on a lot of other things. So that's kind of how I would break up a half marathon plan. And then obviously the sessions are going to be more specific, and you would change the durations of those easy runs and long runs and sessions as we build in, and we try to get you peaking for that race and tapering and peaking in for that race. But hopefully that helped you, mate. Next one, this one's from Claudia? From Claudia. Do you get tired from marathon training? Is it hard to balance work life with training hard? I definitely do get tired from marathon training. That's just what happens when you're running over 100 Ks a week and you're smashing your body. But one thing I have found makes me less tired is just how much you're sleeping, so how much you're recovering. That's really how you can bounce back from such a big marathon training block. In regards to work, my work is you guys see my work. Like what you're watching right now is my work. So I don't have your typical 9-to-5 job where I have all the external pressures and stresses that come with that. I'm a pretty chilled out guy, so I'm able to keep my stress levels quite low, which is, I think, overall impacts my recovery and my sleep, makes it a lot better, makes life a whole lot easier. I do definitely work hard. I'm not saying I have like an easy life, but in regards to somebody who's working like 10, 12 hours a day, or even 9 to 5, or has a family, I don't have kids. I don't have big responsibilities like those where, I have other things to worry about other than myself. I have my girlfriend and I have my dog. So I'm in a pretty good position to recover and train hard and do all the things that come with marathon training. And I understand that not everybody has the luxury to do that. I say luxury, but I've built this for myself. I didn't obviously always do this. I had a 9-to-5 and I've worked hard to get out of that. That's just where my passion is. This is just what I want to be doing with my life, and this is where my purpose is and my passion is. So it is a little bit easier for me to balance my work and my training life. But yeah, to round that question out, I do get tired, but I'm able to manage it better than I think most people are able to manage it, without obviously being a pro athlete where it's your job. But cool, next one, moving on. This one's from Ronaldo. So carb loading do's and don'ts. Carb loading do's, I would say you want to be starting it a couple of days out from your race, especially if it's a marathon, half marathon maybe the day before. You could just look at adding a bit of extra carbs, but marathons you want to be working at adding or upping your carbs a couple of days before, just to really load up, load up. What are some more do's for carb loading? You want to be eating food that you're familiar with. You don't want to just be gorging yourself and just eating as much food as you can and feeling like a fat pig for the 3 days leading up to your marathon, because you're probably not going to feel that great on race day. Don'ts, nothing new on race day, nothing new before race day. If you haven't trialed any of these foods and you don't ever really eat them, then why would you eat them a couple days or even on race day, a couple of days leading up to race day? I feel like nothing new. I think a really good do for carb loading is to practice. If you've got big Sunday long runs coming up, I've done this in the past, I actually did this the other week, is do a carb load or practice a carb load like you're going to do a race. So those couple of days leading in, you can practice adding in more carbs to your meals. You can either do that by adding more carbs on the meals, the physical meals, or you can do that by drinking carb mixes or adding carb snacks. But I find eating lots of snacks on top of the meals that you're already doing just leaves me feeling super, super full. And then I find it hard to stay hydrated and like hit my carb goals. So I would say the best thing to do is to practice, and then that way you can figure out what sits well, what doesn't make you feel like a fat piece of crap, and what is going to make you feel the best on race day. So practice on your Sunday long runs is probably the biggest do I could give you for that one. Then we come into the last question. This one's from Ryan Gunn. How do you treat heel blisters? Mate, I have had some nasty blisters in my time. Let me tell you. I'm not going to put photos up on the screen now. Should I? No, I'm not going to do that to you guys. I've had nasty arch blisters. I've had some nasty heel blisters from my Adios Pro 3. Back in the day, my first race shoe. What I can say is you can go to the chemist or go to like the chemist warehouse or wherever, you know, like a pharmacy, and they'll usually have like blister plasters. So they're like second skins. And if you imagine like this is your heel, you can put it over your heel. And it will add as like a second layer of skin and second layer of protection. This will help prevent you from getting blisters, but also if you have a blister, it's a godsend because it covers it up and it stops it from getting worse. I would put one of them on and then I would tape over the top just so you're just safe. You can do that with pretty much any part of your foot. There's one specifically for your heel. There's one specifically for like your arches, and I think there is merit in, even just for blister prevention, is getting a good pair of running socks. I would recommend shoe socks. They're an Australian brand. There's Features. There's, what was the other one? I can't remember the other one, but there's two really good ones. Shoe socks I'm obviously always going to go for. The LSKD socks are actually really good. I use those all the time for training and racing. But if you have a shoe that you know is going to give you blisters, you can put tape or like, you know, extra protection before you get it. So I think it's important to be preventative, not just, or, you know, be reactive. Wait, what is it? I think it's important to be proactive rather than just being reactive when you have the blister as well. So that's some food for thought for you there, Ryan. But yeah, there you go. Oh, he's dropped his phone. But that is going to conclude the Q&A for you guys. I will answer all of the other questions that I didn't get to on today's video. I'll answer that on my Instagram story during the week. I don't know if I'll do that before you guys see this. Why do I have conversations with myself while having conversations to you? I don't know. But anyway, that's going to conclude the Q&A segment of today's video, and that's also going to conclude the Training Diaries episode for today. If you enjoyed, make sure you like it and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future Melbourne 245 content. We're now 2 weeks out from Melbourne Marathon. I am honestly the fittest I've ever felt, the strongest I've ever felt, and I just cannot wait to just go out there and smash it. I kind of just want these 2 weeks to just go as fast as possible so I can get out there and absolutely just smash the pavement out there. And I said out there a lot just then. But the point of what I'm saying right now is I'm just super keen to run the marathon. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.